Ugochukwu, a young man who rose from hardship to build a thriving business, finds love and hope in marriage. But when betrayal strikes from the one he trusted most, his world is shattered. With his mother's unwavering love and the loyalty of a true friend, he must face heartbreak, deceit, and adversity to reclaim his life. This is a powerful story of love, trust, and resilience that proves even in the darkest times, strength and integrity can triumph. Sit back, relax, and find out what happened in this wonderful story. Ugochukwu was the pride and joy of his mother, Theresa. Ever since his father passed away, she dedicated every ounce of her energy to ensuring that her only son had a good life. Theresa worked tirelessly, juggling multiple jobs, often skipping meals and resting less, all to see Ugochukwu through school. Ugochukwu, a young man with striking features and a gentle heart, never took his mother's sacrifices for granted. To him, she was more precious than life itself. Even as a child, Ugochukwu promised himself that he would repay his mother's hard work with success and love. He excelled in school, not just for himself but for Theresa, who clapped with pride at every achievement. University was no different. Late nights of studying, part-time jobs, and relentless focus became his routine. But through it all, his mother's smile fueled him, reminding him that his struggles were never in vain. When he graduated from university, instead of seeking luxurious jobs or chasing an extravagant lifestyle, Ugochukwu chose a humble path. He took menial jobs to save some money, all the while dreaming of a small business he could call his own. His mother never questioned his choices, she trusted him. "My son, don't worry. Everything will fall into place," she would often say, and Ugochukwu clung to her words like a lifeline. It wasn't long before Ugochukwu's dedication paid off. With the little savings he accumulated, he opened a small provision shop in the heart of the city. The first months were tough. Business was slow, and sometimes Ugochukwu worried if he had made the right decision. But Theresa remained his anchor, always reassuring him that patience and persistence would yield results. The little shop was modest, but to Ugochukwu, it represented a dream coming to life. Every morning, he arranged the shelves meticulously, ensuring the goods were well displayed. Despite the slow foot traffic, he remained optimistic, remembering his mother's words, "Everything will fall into place." Theresa often helped him after her own work, sweeping the floors, chatting with customers, and offering advice on how to attract buyers. Ugochukwu admired her energy, wondering how a woman who worked so hard never seemed to tire. He sometimes caught himself thinking that he had inherited his mother's strength more than just physically. It was her unwavering spirit. Days turned into weeks, and slowly, the shop began to draw more customers. Ugochukwu's warm smile, honesty, and dedication earned him loyal patrons. Small profits came, and with them, a sense of pride. Theresa celebrated every little milestone with him, sharing in his joy as though she had achieved it herself. Encouraged by this growth, Ugochukwu began saving even more, planning to expand. He dreamed of turning his small provision shop into a thriving supermarket. Theresa continued to stand by him, offering guidance and encouragement. Little did Ugochukwu know that his future was about to bring not only success but challenges that would test the love between mother, son, and the woman who would later become his wife. Within a few years, Ugochukwu's perseverance bore fruit. The small shop had grown into a bustling supermarket, attracting customers from all over the neighborhood. The shelves were stocked with quality products, and the community recognized Ugochukwu as a young man of integrity and hard work. One afternoon, while balancing the books, Ugochukwu confided in his best friend Emeka. "I need a good girl who can help me in the shop," he said thoughtfully. "Someone trustworthy, disciplined, and honest." Emeka nodded, understanding the weight of the responsibility. "I'll see what I can do," he promised, confident that he could find someone suitable. Days later, Emeka returned with a young woman named Kamsi. "This is the only girl I could find, and she's good," he assured Ugochukwu. Kamsi was stunningly beautiful, with a gentle demeanor and bright eyes that reflected intelligence and warmth. Ugochukwu greeted her warmly, impressed not only by her appearance but by her calm confidence. He offered her the job immediately. Kamsi accepted with humility, grateful for the opportunity. She lived with her aunt Beatrice, who had raised her after the death of her parents. Beatrice had been Kamsi's guide, mentor, and confidant, and she had instilled in Kamsi the values of hard work and integrity. Little did anyone know, this decision would intertwine their lives in ways neither could foresee. Kamsi quickly adapted to her new environment. She arrived at work on time, followed instructions meticulously, and treated the customers with respect and kindness. Ugochukwu, impressed by her diligence, often stayed late in the shop, helping her organize stock or advising on sales strategies. Their interactions were cordial at first but gradually deepened into a friendship built on mutual respect. As weeks passed, the bond between Ugochukwu and Kamsi strengthened. Lunch breaks turned into shared conversations, and shared tasks became moments of laughter and camaraderie. Ugochukwu admired Kamsi's intelligence, while Kamsi appreciated his humility and dedication. Their relationship slowly transitioned from friendship into something more profound. Theresa noticed the closeness between her son and Kamsi. She observed their subtle glances, shared smiles, and the ease with which they spoke to each other. Though cautious, she hoped her son had found a partner who would respect not only him but also the bond he shared with his mother. Eventually, Ugochukwu confessed his feelings to Kamsi. She reciprocated, revealing that she had long admired him from afar. The pair's courtship was filled with tenderness and mutual care. It was not long before they decided to marry, a union that promised happiness, yet carried seeds of future conflict, which would challenge their love and patience in unimaginable ways. The wedding was a celebration of love, family, and new beginnings. Kamsi was radiant in her bridal attire, and Ugochukwu couldn't take his eyes off her. Theresa was overjoyed, seeing her son start a family, and felt hopeful that Kamsi would become a daughter who cherished her family values. Initially, married life was harmonious. Kamsi adjusted to her new role with grace, attending to her duties in the shop and showing respect to Theresa. Ugochukwu was attentive, balancing the needs of his business, his wife, and his mother. Their home resonated with laughter, conversations, and the warmth of a family thriving on love and mutual respect. Beatrice, however, had cautioned Kamsi beforehand. "Can you handle your mother-in-law living with you?" she had asked. Kamsi brushed off the concern, confident that love would smooth any difficulties. "Ugochukwu loves me, that's all that matters," she reassured her aunt, unaware that this confidence would soon be tested in ways that would change everyone's lives. As months passed, small tensions began to surface. Kamsi, though initially patient, started to feel the pressures of living with Theresa. Small disagreements over chores and daily routines grew into arguments. Ugochukwu, caught in the middle, struggled to mediate. Despite this, he held hope that their love could overcome these challenges, not knowing that the coming months would test the limits of patience, loyalty, and trust. As the months passed, the joy in Ugochukwu's home began to dim. Kamsi's patience with Theresa started to wear thin. Small disagreements escalated quickly. If Theresa reminded Kamsi to tidy a shelf or help with minor household chores, Kamsi would snap. "Mama, this is my husband's house. Go back to your husband's house," she would exclaim, her voice laced with irritation. Theresa, though hurt, never retaliated. She had endured far worse in her life and only wished peace for her son and daughter-in-law. Ugochukwu felt torn. He loved both his mother and Kamsi, but now they seemed to be at odds over every little thing. He tried to mediate, speaking to Kamsi gently. "Can you just tolerate Mama in whatever she does in this house?" he asked one evening, his voice heavy with concern. Kamsi's eyes filled with tears. "So now you are taking her side?" she cried. "It's not like that, baby," Ugochukwu replied. "She is my mother. I want peace for all of us." But Kamsi's patience had worn thin, and she was unwilling to compromise. She confided in Beatrice, her aunt, pouring out her frustrations. "Auntie, that woman is making the house a living hell for me. No matter what I do, she finds fault," Kamsi said, her voice trembling. Beatrice, with a cold certainty, advised her, "You must be strong with her. Don't let her intimidate you. Stand your ground, and she will have no choice but to step back." Empowered by her aunt's words, Kamsi changed. She became openly rude and arrogant to Theresa. She stopped helping with chores and even withheld meals from her mother-in-law. Ugochukwu watched silently, heartbroken, as the home he had built with love turned into a battleground. He tried reasoning with Kamsi daily, but she refused to listen, her loyalty shifting toward Beatrice's advice instead of the family they had once cherished. Ugochukwu's heart sank as he watched his once happy home fall apart. Kamsi's cruelty toward his mother grew worse with each passing day. Meals were skipped, chores left undone, and arguments erupted over trivial matters. The love that once flourished between Ugochukwu and Kamsi now seemed like a distant memory, replaced by tension, silence, and bitterness. Despite his efforts to reconcile, Ugochukwu found himself drifting away. He could no longer ignore the emotional strain. Each attempt to reason with Kamsi ended in anger, and Theresa, ever patient, endured in silence. Ugochukwu felt trapped between the woman he loved and the mother who had sacrificed everything for him. Nights became restless, and the warmth of home faded into cold walls and hushed whispers. Kamsi, on the other hand, felt justified in her actions. Beatrice constantly encouraged her, reinforcing the idea that Ugochukwu would have no choice but to send his mother away. "Keep going, Kamsi. Eventually, he will realize you are right," Beatrice said firmly. Kamsi, emboldened by her aunt's support, continued to mistreat Theresa, convinced she was claiming her rightful place as Ugochukwu's wife. One evening, Ugochukwu, unable to bear the strain any longer, drove to Beatrice's house. His voice trembled with frustration. "Auntie, I don't understand Kamsi anymore. She has changed completely. She refuses to listen, refuses to care. What should I do?" Beatrice, unwavering, advised him bluntly, "Take your mother out of the house. That is the only way peace will return." Ugochukwu was shattered. The words pierced him deeper than he had imagined, leaving him questioning everything he had worked for. That evening, as Ugochukwu drove home, his mind was clouded with worry. He felt trapped and helpless, torn between the woman he loved and the mother who raised him. Suddenly, fate struck. A car lost control at a sharp turn, colliding with Ugochukwu's vehicle. The world spun violently around him, and he lost consciousness. When he woke, it was in a hospital, pain radiating through his body. Doctors informed him that his legs had been severely injured, and he would require weeks of recovery in a wheelchair. The news crushed him. The accident was a cruel twist, leaving him vulnerable and dependent on those around him. For a man who had always been strong and self-reliant, this helplessness was unbearable. At home, the atmosphere had changed drastically. Kamsi's attitude worsened. She grew cold, often leaving Ugochukwu to care for himself. The warmth and love that had once filled the house vanished. Theresa, ever patient, continued to support her son, tending to him, feeding him, and offering comfort, even when Kamsi refused to do so. Emeka, Ugochukwu's loyal friend, became a constant presence. He visited daily, cheering Ugochukwu on. "Don't worry, everything will be fine," he said, trying to lift his friend's spirits. But even Emeka couldn't mend the emotional chasm widening between Ugochukwu and his wife. The accident, while physical, had magnified the fractures in their relationships, leaving the family teetering on the edge of collapse. Life in the house became unbearable. Kamsi, once loving, now treated Ugochukwu with indifference. She mingled with other men, left him unattended, and rarely spoke with warmth. Theresa, saddened by the coldness around her, continued to care for her son silently. "Please, forget about the past. Just take care of my son," she pleaded one night, her eyes heavy with worry. Kamsi's reply was cold and dismissive. "Mama, he is your son. Take care of him," she said, with a tone that left no room for warmth. The bitterness in her voice stung Theresa deeply. Ugochukwu watched helplessly as the woman he loved withdrew entirely from the life they once shared. The once happy home now resembled a battlefield, with silence, tension, and resentment taking the place of laughter and joy. Desperate to salvage their relationship, Ugochukwu called Kamsi one night. "Please, can we go back to the way we used to be?" he begged. "If my mother is the problem, I can send her out just for peace." Kamsi laughed bitterly. "It's too late, Ugochukwu. You didn't send her away when you were able. Now, you want to do it in this state? You must be kidding." Emeka continued his loyal support, offering to help in any way. "Don't worry, Ugochukwu. I will always be here," he assured him. Ugochukwu entrusted his business to Emeka, knowing he could not rely on Kamsi anymore. Meanwhile, Kamsi visited Beatrice again, who gave her one last piece of advice: sell the shop's goods and escape with the money. Kamsi, blinded by greed and influence, accepted the plan, setting the stage for her ultimate betrayal. Kamsi's mind was consumed by Beatrice's advice. She had started seeing Theresa as an obstacle, blaming her for every frustration in her life. The plan to sell Ugochukwu's goods without his knowledge became her secret mission. She went about her daily duties in the shop, but with hidden intentions. Every transaction she made was calculated, gradually reducing the stock and siphoning money. Ugochukwu, still recovering in his wheelchair, trusted Kamsi completely. He had no idea that the woman he loved and had supported through everything was betraying him. Emeka, however, noticed Kamsi's unusual behavior. Her frequent trips out, secretive phone calls, and nervous demeanor raised suspicion. He began monitoring the shop discreetly, sensing that trouble was brewing. At home, tension simmered. Kamsi treated Theresa with disdain, no longer pretending to tolerate her presence. Meals were skipped, chores were neglected, and verbal attacks became routine. Ugochukwu's heart ached every time he witnessed the cruelty. He often remained silent, too exhausted by his condition to confront the growing darkness. His mother, resilient as ever, stayed patient, praying that reason would prevail in Kamsi's heart. Beatrice, meanwhile, reinforced Kamsi's actions, justifying them as retribution for perceived wrongs. "You are only claiming what is rightfully yours," she said, ignoring the moral implications. Kamsi, torn between conscience and loyalty to her aunt's advice, continued the deceit. She sold more items secretly, believing that her victory over Theresa would soon grant her control over the household and the shop. Emeka's vigilance paid off. He noticed Kamsi's pattern and started keeping detailed records of the shop's inventory. The irregularities were alarming. He realized that someone close to Ugochukwu was betraying him, and the evidence pointed unmistakably to Kamsi. Shock and anger mixed with disappointment as he contemplated confronting her. Meanwhile, Ugochukwu, still emotionally fragile from the accident, relied on Emeka completely. He explained his concerns about Kamsi's sudden coldness and absence of care. Emeka comforted him but promised to investigate quietly. "Don't worry, Ugochukwu. I will handle this," he assured, determined to protect his friend from further harm. One night, after closing the shop, Kamsi attempted to sneak out with the remaining stock she had secretly sold. Emeka confronted her quietly, holding the evidence in his hands. "Kamsi, stop. I know everything," he said calmly but firmly. Kamsi's face paled. She had never expected to be caught, and in that moment, her confidence crumbled. Ugochukwu, heartbroken and disappointed, could hardly believe the betrayal. The woman he had trusted, loved, and supported had plotted against him, influenced by her aunt's manipulations. The realization cut deeper than any physical injury he had endured. Kamsi was arrested, and the house fell into a heavy silence. Theresa wept quietly, mourning the collapse of her son's marriage, while Emeka comforted them, promising that brighter days were still ahead. Kamsi's arrest left Ugochukwu shattered. The love he once held was replaced by pain and disbelief. Sitting in his wheelchair, he stared at the empty home, remembering the laughter, love, and dreams that had once filled the space. Emeka remained his constant support, checking in daily, offering encouragement, and helping with the shop and household. Theresa, though deeply hurt, never wavered in her care. She tended to Ugochukwu's needs, prepared his meals, and provided the emotional support he desperately needed. The mother-son bond strengthened in adversity, showcasing a love untouched by betrayal or hardship. Ugochukwu began reflecting on the resilience his mother had taught him, finding solace in her unwavering support. Kamsi, now in prison, faced her own reality. Beatrice visited her, attempting to console her, but the comfort felt hollow. "You are very wicked, Auntie," Kamsi said bitterly. "If not for your advice, I wouldn't be here today." Beatrice admitted her role, revealing that this was how her own mother had wronged her in the past. She had only perpetuated the cycle, leaving Kamsi to bear the consequences. Though heartbroken, Ugochukwu resolved to rebuild. He refused to let betrayal define his life. The path ahead was uncertain, but with Emeka's loyalty and his mother's support, he regained a sense of purpose. Slowly, hope returned, planting the seeds for recovery and eventual triumph over adversity. Recovery for Ugochukwu was not just physical but emotional. Every day he spent in his wheelchair reminded him of the fragility of life and the importance of resilience. With Theresa by his side, he found motivation to start afresh, to rebuild the business and reclaim the happiness stolen from him. Emeka played a critical role in helping him revive the supermarket. Together, they reorganized, restocked, and reached out to loyal customers. The community, aware of the betrayal, supported Ugochukwu with renewed loyalty. His honesty, integrity, and past dedication had earned him respect, and now that respect turned into tangible support for his recovery. Theresa encouraged him to focus not on anger or vengeance but on building a future free of deceit. "Son, the past cannot be changed. But you can decide what comes next. Let us build again," she said, her voice filled with wisdom. Ugochukwu, inspired, dedicated himself to reviving the shop, refusing to let bitterness consume him. Kamsi, meanwhile, reflected on her actions in prison. Her heart, once full of ambition and greed, now carried regret. She began to understand the weight of her mistakes, the destruction caused not only to Ugochukwu but to herself. Yet, the damage was done, and her freedom was now a distant dream. Days turned into weeks, and the shop slowly regained its former glory. Ugochukwu, with Emeka's help, ensured that everything was organized efficiently. He focused on customer satisfaction, quality service, and rebuilding trust. The community, moved by his resilience, returned in droves, helping the business thrive once again. Theresa's role became central to Ugochukwu's recovery. She motivated him, reminded him of his strength, and provided emotional support. Ugochukwu realized that true wealth was not in money or possessions but in family, loyalty, and love. He grew stronger emotionally, appreciating the sacrifices his mother had made all his life. Kamsi's absence, while painful, became a source of clarity. Ugochukwu no longer wasted energy on anger or resentment. Instead, he focused on his future, learning that life's trials often carried lessons of endurance and wisdom. Emeka, always by his side, became not just a friend but a brother in the truest sense. Through this period, Ugochukwu found peace in patience. Every challenge, betrayal, and hardship had strengthened his character. Slowly, he rebuilt not only his business but also his faith in people, learning that love, integrity, and resilience could overcome even the darkest of betrayals. The shop had regained its momentum, and customers returned, impressed by the young man's resilience. Emeka remained loyal, managing the shop whenever Ugochukwu needed rest. The two friends worked tirelessly, turning setbacks into lessons of perseverance. Ugochukwu's heart, once broken, began to heal, fueled by determination and his mother's unwavering support. Theresa watched her son with pride. She had feared that Kamsi's betrayal might leave permanent scars, but Ugochukwu proved that character and integrity could withstand any challenge. "My son, you have grown stronger," she said one evening as they closed the shop together. Ugochukwu smiled softly, realizing that his mother's love had always been the foundation of his strength. Though Kamsi's actions had caused immense pain, her downfall served as a lesson for all. Ambition, when fueled by greed and deceit, could destroy even the most cherished relationships. For Ugochukwu, the betrayal had strengthened his resolve, reminding him that trust must be earned and that loyalty to family is priceless. Ugochukwu gradually regained control of both his life and business. Every day brought new opportunities, and he poured his energy into expanding the shop into a fully functional supermarket. Emeka became a trusted partner, handling day-to-day operations while Ugochukwu strategized for growth. The community admired his determination, offering encouragement and support at every turn. Theresa continued to be the pillar of strength behind him. She prepared meals, managed the household, and gave advice whenever necessary. Ugochukwu often reflected on how fortunate he was to have a mother so selfless, patient, and wise. Her sacrifices had laid the groundwork for his recovery, and he vowed never to take her for granted. Meanwhile, Kamsi's absence created a void in the past Ugochukwu had once cherished. But instead of dwelling on betrayal, he focused on lessons learned. He realized that life had tested him not to break him but to teach him resilience, patience, and the value of genuine love. The pain of her treachery became fuel for growth rather than a burden. Through it all, Ugochukwu remained humble. He hired trustworthy employees, nurtured loyal friendships, and maintained the principles of honesty and integrity that had defined his early successes. The business not only recovered but flourished, symbolizing Ugochukwu's inner strength and ability to rise above adversity. This story reminds us that love, trust, and integrity are the true pillars of life. Greed and deceit may cause temporary gain, but they lead only to heartbreak. True strength lies in patience, resilience, and valuing the people who genuinely care for you. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Guess what? I am cooking something really great that you wouldn't want to miss. So subscribe now and join our family. Give this video a thumbs up and share to your family and friends. See you soon.